Welcome to Buckets, brought to you by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. This is your Tuesday, November 28th, Best Bets episode in the National Basketball Association. We'll give you best bets. We'll talk about the in-season tournament, continued on from our conversation. If you haven't caught it, make sure to check out Monday's episode. We broke down all the scenarios, have some tasty futures in there as well. We'll talk about the implications of those a little bit more tonight on the show. Everything we talk about tonight can be found in the award-winning Action Network app. Best way for you to track your picks. You can track line movements, make sure that you're getting the best of the number, maybe get out of things if the market moves against you, etc. So make sure to keep those in mind and check those out in the Action Network app. Also, check out our YouTube page. Go to youtube.com/the Action Network, the Action Network, and you're going to find all sorts of great stuff on there. I promise. If you like betting, you're going to want to just turn it on and just stream our stuff while you're working, while you're going through your day. You're going to love it. Just go to youtube.com/the Action Network. On tonight's show for Best Bets, I got Andrew O'Connor Watts. You can find him on Twitter and in the Action Network app. It's AO Watts 13, AOWATTS 13. And joining me as always, Jay Money. You can find him on Twitter and in the Action Network app at JMoneyIsMoney. All right, guys, let's get right down to it. Jay Money, what's your best bet for the Tuesday slate?
I'm on the Houston Rockets plus 5.5.
Okay, that sounds like a pretty good bet. I'm sure that we'll have all sorts of different bets. Like, there's all so many sorts of bets on the board. Andrew, what's your best bet for Tuesday?
Yeah, it sounds like a great bet. Houston Rockets plus 5.5.
I also am on Houston Rockets plus 5.5. Fuck. Yeah, we everybody's gonna be on this, and we'll get into why. I will also mention a few others that I've got. I've got Hawks plus 5 versus the Cavs. I have Bucks Heat over 226, but that's dependent on an injury spot. We'll talk about that in a second. We'll talk about a few of the other games as the scenarios play out. All right, Jay. So you kind of mentioned that the tournament, you know what? You mentioned you were before the show, you were like, the tournament games have been a little hard for me. I'm not surprised because so much of your cap is based off of like this one individual spot versus this team. And instead, like all of these tournament games are a little bit heightened, right? It's not a regular season game. It's not a playoff game. It's somewhere in the middle. And there's no like personal animus. You're not like, ooh, I've got a rivalry with this. That's not how it's fucking working. But teams are playing a little bit up, and that motivational swing is a little bit different than it is in the regular season. That said, why do you like Houston here as a dog versus the Dallas Mavericks?
Yeah, well, first off, the tournament games have been super funky to me. I mean, we've seen all type of funky end results as well. I know a game versus the Kings and Spurs, the spread was 8.5, and it was on 7, and then the Kings get a late bucket to go to 9. So it's just funky things like that where teams are obviously trying to win by as much. But I have done well with the games right after the tournament games. But however, I am going with the Rockets in this one. I know they hadn't played their best basketball on the road, but this team is 10-0-1 against the spread in their last 11 games. This has to be the best ATS team so far in the NBA this season. I think they match up well versus the Mavs as well. Obviously, the Mavs are coming off 2 straight road games back at the house. They've literally been traveling all over the place, and it's an absolute must-win game for the Rockets if they want to get in the tournament, which I think they're very motivated to do as well. So this is a spot that I'll take a team with. I'll take the points with the team that I think the wins straight up. I could take the money line, but if you're going to give me some cushion there, I'm always going to take the points you're going to give them to me.
The two best teams in the league against the spread, by the way, are the Orlando Magic at 14-3, and then the Brooklyn Nets at 12-3. But the Rockets, however, are 10-3-1 against the spread, and they are third best in the league this season. All right, that's Jay's cap on it. Andrew, why do you like the Rockets plus 5.5?
Yeah, I mean, what Jay said, it's a good spot for them, but I also just recent performance as well as full season performance in the last 10 games. For instance, the Rockets are 7-3, 9-0-1 against the spread in their last 10 games. They're second in net rating at 10 plus 10.7. I just think, and matchup wise, like I think they're going to own the boards. They're been playing great in that department. They're first in defensive rebound rate. Dallas is 28th in defensive rebound rate over the past 10 games. Lively is questionable. If he doesn't play, that's even better for the rebound angle. And their defense just matches up well with what the Mavs try to do. They shoot a lot of threes. The Rockets defend the 3-point line really well. I think it's a great spot for the Mavs, or for the Rockets rather. There's also a couple trends here that I like. So fading the Mavs as home favorites since last season is 27, 12, and 2 for 30.8% ROI. Since Kyrie, fading the Mavs as home favorites is 12 and 4, 43.2% ROI. So just a little added trends bonus there, a little cherry on top for the spot.
So these games are going to matter for regular season purposes. So it's not like the teams that are eliminated have no reason, but they don't have as much as the other team does. Houston is in to the in-season tournament with a win. And we talked this out on the Monday episode about how we didn't necessarily want to bet Houston. I did go ahead and add an Alperen Sengun MVP bet based off of the principle of in-season tournament MVP, based off of the principle of like, look, if the Rockets have a better chance of making it in than some of these other guys, then that inherently, like, if I get to a spot where if the Rockets do win tomorrow night, and the Rockets do win the first quarterfinal game, and now I'm one game away from the finals with the Houston Rockets, and I've got Alperen Sengun at 40-1 when he's clearly their best player, I've got some opportunities at least to get in on the other side, depending on what the number is. So I couldn't ignore that. You will note that Jim Turvey Bets did put a bet on Houston to win the tournament group. Those numbers are not widely available. If you can find one at your book, there was like a plus 194. It's effectively the money line, but you're actually getting better value on them to win the group for some reason, even though that should not be the case. If you do have a book that's like lazy and hanging out a number for them to win the group, that's what you're betting here. You're betting Houston to win this game, and they win the group here. If they lose, okay, so if they lose now, New Orleans is in. And so that's like the play here is that should kind of, I'll say this too. If you think Dallas wins this game, then you should probably have a Zion Williamson ticket for MVP. Like, however you feel about Rockets Mavericks, ride with us, fade us. You have an in-season tournament bet that you can make. Either Alperen Sengun or Zion Williamson. One of those two guys is going to be one of the final 8 best players on their team in the in-season tournament, and you should consider that going forward.
Can I jump in here? So
yeah.
That Sengun bet I love that, the MVP. You guys talked about that last night. That's awesome. He's 19th in EPM right now, a stat that I know you like a lot, and 9th in BPM, which are definitely indicative of MVP success. So why not in-season MVP, right?
Yeah,
so
it's basically like, look, if Houston wins 3 games in a row, it's unlikely that Houston wins 3 games in a row with Jalen Green being better than Alperen Sengun, Fred VanVleet being better than Alperen Sengun, Dylan Brooks being. Don't get me wrong, Dylan Brooks winning in-season tournament finals MVP would be fucking hilarious. But it does seem a little unlikely. And if you get to the final game, right? If you get to the final game and for whatever reason you think Houston's going to win, you can go ahead and bet those other guys too, because again, you'll have a 40-1 ticket if you think Houston wins this game.
Yeah, absolutely. So back to we did Pels in the in-season tournament pod that we were on. Yep. I really do like the money line here, but I personally have a Pelicans group bet, and I'm trying to thread the needle here with the spread and hit both. I would not blame you to hedge out. We talked about some hedge opportunities in that podcast, but I'm just trying to thread a needle here with the spread for Houston and hope Dallas wins.
One more note on this game, because Jay's giving you the reason for the Rockets, and Andrew's giving you for the reason for the Rockets. I have this power rated as a reason to bet the Rockets, but I will say here's the other thing for me is that Dallas's win profile is they don't beat good teams. That's who they've been this season. They are 2-3 straight up NATS versus teams over 500. Here's the rundown. They got their tails kicked in by the by the Nuggets in Denver. They beat the Magic after going down by like 20 when the Magic were without two starters, Fultz and Wendell Carter Jr., and hadn't figured themselves out yet. They lost to the Bucks. They lost to the Kings, and they barely beat the Los Angeles Lakers in LA, which I don't know how good of a win that is, but any team that has had a pulse has given the Mavericks trouble. And so that makes me want to take the spread here as well. Finally, like just as an overall thing here, and I've said this on a couple of the podcasts, and I do think it's relevant. Favorites in the in-season tournament have not done well. They've done well against straight up. They've won 67% of the time, but they are just 19, 32, and 1 for 37% against the spread. Dogs have been like, this is actually a very big reversal from what we see the rest of the time in the regular season, which is if you take out just the tournament, I did this because I'm a freak. If you take out just the tournament games, teams that cover as dogs win outright. They don't in the tournament, but also if you're a favorite, you tend to cover a little and you win the game, you cover. Not so in the tournament. The favorites are winning at a high clip, not necessarily higher than overall, but they're also not covering at a substantially lower rate. So dogs are a pretty good play here. Atlanta is the same kind of deal here for me, where look, that game is going to be, I think, pretty contentious, because if you look at it, Cleveland and Atlanta, I'm not going to run down all the scenarios. Atlanta gets in with a Knicks loss.
Please do, man.
Do what?
I said, please do. Let's play convince me here on the show. Like run down the scenarios. I want to know, because I think the whole thing is like a brain, like, you know what I'm saying, really gets your brain going.
This is extremely my shit. The Hawks need a win, a Knicks loss, a Miami loss, a Boston loss, a Brooklyn loss, and they got to win tiebreaker. So, like, Atlanta needs to win this, and they need to win big. Cleveland gets the wild card if they win, and the Knicks lose, and the Heat lose, and the Celtics lose, and the Nets lose. Or if Cleveland wins and they get tiebreaker. Cleveland, if they do win this game, wins it by margin. But I do have this power rated with the Hawks being inside the number. I haven't liked how Cleveland's played in general. They just haven't been able to get there. Now, maybe they smash them. I will say the Hawks have played pretty well as of late. They're actually up to the number one offense, schedule adjusted, over dunks and threes. That surprised me. Trae Young's up to 37% three-point shooting. That surprised me because he was shooting terrible to start the season. So they're a little under the radar. I don't necessarily know that they're good, but I'm willing to go ahead and take them on the spread here. Not a lot I want to do with them from a tournament perspective, because like I said, a lot of stuff's got to go their way. They got to win out, and they got to edge out a bunch of teams here. So that's the two of those best bets. I've also got a best bet. I'm going to wait. I need Jimmy Butler to play in that game tomorrow night between the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks. That's obviously like, look, I'm kind of tempted to take Heat +3 just based off the fact that they've had their number, and I don't think the Bucks are very good, and the Heat are at home. I like the over a lot better. It's only 226. Heat offense has been cooking a little bit lately, and that Bucks defense is trash. Like, this number is projected as like the Bucks defense is still relatively good. It's bad. Jay, you got thoughts on this one?
Honestly, I mean, I think that Butler plays. Obviously, they lost earlier to the Milwaukee Bucks up there in Milwaukee. It just kind of feels like the Bucks, they do want to win this tournament. I heard Dame's kind of talking about it a few times that they really want to win it. So I was kind of looking towards the Bucks, but honestly, this is like a coin flip type of game. I could see it going either way. I do know the Heat first game back at the house after a long road trip here, but if I had to play it, like if I had a free bet on it, I'd be taking the Bucks to win. I'd wait for Butler to get ruled in, wait for the spread to go down. But even though their defense is ass, I do feel like they have a different level when it comes to the offense, in my opinion. Like, you can't just stop Giannis anymore. That's always been the Heat's thing against the Bucks. We know how to stop Giannis. Okay, well, now you got to stop Lillard as well, and I don't think that Lowry can do that. And obviously, these are the type of spots where they could really miss Tyler Hero as well, being their secondary ball handler. So I heavily lean towards the Bucks in this game.
It doesn't look like these two teams are in a very good spot. It depends on, like, so the Bucks need a win and they clinch, or they can win if the Knicks also win, and then there's a 3-way tie, and then they could win with tiebreaker because the Bucks have a huge tiebreaker on point diff at plus 39. If this is confusing, it should be. This thing is very confusing, and at the end of the night, we'll be able to kind of see what it looks like. One more I wanted to talk about here. I did want to, I really want to bet OKC Minnesota because I think it's going to be an absolute banger of a game, but neither team is likely to make the tournament. They have to have like a bunch of shit go their way, and it's unlikely that happens, which is, again, a real bummer because OKC is out. Minnesota needs to win, and they need to get tiebreaker over any other team with a 3-1, and there's some tough ones in there. The other one I did want to talk about, though, we mentioned this on the Monday pod, is Chicago-Boston. So the line came out, and we wanted to wait for what the line looked like. The look-ahead line on this, there was actually a look-ahead on these tournament games, and it was 9. It popped at 12, which is, to me, indicative not only of the power rating differential, but also that they're aware the Celtics have to absolutely smack this game to get in. This is the one where the Celtics need to win by a shit ton. The Celtics situation is they need to win, a Brooklyn win, and then Boston wins tiebreaker over Orlando and Brooklyn, as long as they can get the tiebreaker up there. Orlando is plus 22. Boston is 0. So Orlando's done. They don't have any more games to play. If Boston wins and Brooklyn wins, those three finish 3-1. The Nets are plus 8. The Celtics have to not only outdo the Magic, which they're 22 points behind in tiebreaker, but also the Nets, who they are 8 points behind in tiebreaker. So if the Nets win by 31, the Celtics have to win by 32. Jason Tatum said comments today, so he didn't like the tiebreaker being point differential, that at the end of the game you shouldn't be going for it. You should have respect for the game and your opponent. To which I would say, what's your suggestion for tiebreaker then? Because guess what? There is actually point differential does matter in playoffs if you get down enough tiebreakers. You just have more games to kind of figure it out again. It's like, would you rather do a coin flip for $500,000? There, Jason, probably not. Whoa. So the Celtics need to smack. Now, what was interesting is when I started looking this game up, I found this weird thing. When the Celtics have won by 15 or more in the going back to last season in the Missoula era, when they've won under Maz by 15 or more, they've held opponents under their team total in 20 of the 23. That's 20-3 on the opponent team total over. They've gone over in 18 of the 23 on their own win total or team total. So Boston has outscored its team total in 18 of 23. They've held the opponent under in 20 of 23. The average margin is a absolutely ridiculous 127 to 102. So when the Celtics do win, they win by a shit ton. Now, Drew Holiday's questionable. Derek White's sick, and he's questionable as well. They got a lot of motivation, though, to hit this. This is $500,000 on the line because the Celtics are going to be favored if they get into this. It's why we told you to bet Celtics to win the tournament last night. We found a 34 to 1. That thing's down to like 10 to 1 in the market. It's still really good value based off of the likelihood that they're going to absolutely kill the Bulls here. What I wound up betting on this, and you can find it in the app, I took a parlay, a same game, Celtics over 119.5, Bulls under 106.5. That's well below above what the Bulls average in losses. And I got that at 3 to 1. I also took an under 97.5 on the Bulls. That one I got at plus 175. So that's how I played that game. This is a lot to try and take in. The long story short is my initial read was, the Celtics are going to kill them. I'll just take like Celtics to score a lot. But it turns out that when the Celtics actually win by margin, they do it with defense a little bit more than they do with offense. Hey, Andrew, what you got to follow up on that?
Yeah, no, I love that look, that angle. I was looking at a team total over with the Celtics, just pretty boring team total over, but I think I love that same game parlay. The Bulls are just 4-14 to the over, the team total over on the season. So, I mean, even if they didn't have that, even if you didn't tell me that stat, I would already be kind of looking to angle. And then just the fact that they need to score. I mean, unless Jason Tatum decides that he respects his opponent more than their ability to move on to the next round, then yeah, they should just keep scoring and scoring. The Bulls are, I mean, I don't know what to say about the Bulls that hasn't been said already, man.
But
I came out here.
I will say, like, the most NBA thing possible here is for the Bulls to win this fucking game outright. Like, I'm literally looking at, like, maybe I should just go ahead and take the Bulls on the money line for, like, a really tiny, small amount, just in case I get that screwed by this. Jay, what do you think about this?
I don't like the Tatum comments. I'll tell you that right now. It kind of just shows to me. I mean, and the Celtics have their eyes on the actual championship. I mean, I'm not really gonna get into the money, but I mean, these guys make $500,000 like every 2 weeks or something. You know what I'm saying? Him, Jaylen Brown, guys like Drew Holiday, guys are making $500,000 like it's nobody's business. So I just feel like the money's not the incentive for the Celtics. They don't have Porzingis. If I feel like this, if Drew Holiday, whether he plays or not, will really be indicative of how much the Celtics care about this game. It's really that simple, in my opinion. But the Bulls, I'm never looking to bet the Bulls. They're on the hell no list. Obviously, I mean, this team has all type of things going on. I'm not even sure in this particular spot could they muster something up and possibly cover a spread. So if it was any other team, I'd definitely be going contrarian and taking the points. But I can't do it with this Bulls team. I can't.
So, final kind of note here: both the Celtics and Nets play at the same time. They both tip at 7:30 Eastern. The Nets get in with a win and a Boston loss. So if the Celtics, how can I put this? elect to engage with less effort than one might think in this particular situation in the event that they don't wish for a Vegas vacation. If that were to happen, or that, like, let's just say they just get caught, right? Like, I mean, the Celtics won to win Game 7 versus the Heat and got absolutely annihilated. If that happens and they're hit down huge, Brooklyn might put the Jets on in the fourth quarter because they got a legitimate chance of getting in there. Brooklyn gets the wild card with a win, a Cleveland loss to the Hawks, a Knicks. Again, the Knicks losing is actually kind of like a big deal here.
That's not happening, man.
And they're playing the Hornets.
It's not happening without LaMelo.
Without LaMelo. So, yeah. Not looking good for those teams that need a Knicks loss. We'll see how it shakes out. I will tell you that there will be brackets. So we're going to have some content built off of like how to look at the bracket and how to bet it. You can find that in the Action Network app. We'll talk about it on Buckets as well when we get closer to the tournament, which starts this coming Monday. I'll be in Vegas for the in-season tournament for the semifinals and finals rounds. I'm very excited to be in Vegas and see this thing.
Take me with you. Take me with you, man.
I need it. You can hit the books and I'll go cover the games. All right. Let's go do it. You can follow Andrew O'Connor Watts on Twitter and in the Action Network app. AOW13. You can follow Jay in the Action Network app at JMoneyIsMoney. Andrew is, AOW Watts.
Yeah, AO Watts.
13, AO Watts. There we go. AO Watts 13 on Twitter and in the Action Network app. Thanks for joining us. My thanks to David Payne, our producer, as well as our crack video team putting this up on YouTube, youtube.com/The Action Network. We'll see you guys again tomorrow. Till then, let's get buckets.